we'll start our meeting tonight with public comment like we usually do, and as usual, I want everybody to be sure that we respect the rights and privacy of individuals, so we're not talking about individual students, we're not talking about individual staff or personnel. Does anyone have any public comment at this time? All right. So let's move on to the first order of business, which is our out-of-district student applications. And I guess I want to ask your family if you'd like to have executive session, which means that we would close the public part of the meeting and just speak to you. And that's always available to you on student issues.
Thank you. We're okay with just having an open session.
All right. So Mr. McGee.
Right. Well, I apologize. It took us a little bit of time to get you in here, but it's just kind of the way the business, the board flows sometimes. But we have with us today 3 students that want to attend the Florence School. They are currently renting a property down in Lolo, but apparently the family is building a house here in Florence, and so they want to get the kids into the building here, and so they don't have to transition from one school to the other. And in looking at their student applications, they're in good standing. See no need to be concerned at this point, given the circumstances.
I'll make a motion to accept Oliver, Ethan, and John Dillon Post non-resident student application to attend Florence School.
I'll second.
So discussion. So we always say in the discussion portion here, you guys are going to be moving in district, but if you were going to continue to live out of district, you would need to know that you would have to be reconsidered each year, and that if there's any incidences of discipline or anything like that, you end up having a little harder time to wade through that than if you were an in-district family. But that's going to be resolved here soon. So, but any other discussion?
Glad to have you back.
Thank you. And can I?
Absolutely.
I just would like to say thank you so much, Mr. McGee and trustees, for coming here tonight and considering the request. Thank you for accommodating us. And we're very happy to be back where we consider home. And we were previously here for Ethan started in kindergarten, and Oliver did as well. And we're just really excited to be back. Happy to answer any specific questions that you might have, but thank you again for your time and consideration and your service to the community. We really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. So we're going to vote, and then we will go from there. So I have a motion, I've had discussion, and now we're going to call for the question. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Welcome. See the appropriate principals tomorrow or whatever.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bring them tomorrow.
Great.
All right, and you may stay or go as you choose.
We're going to get him to bed so we can get up early and be to school on time.
Thank
you so much,
All
Oliver.
right,
Really appreciate it.
welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on to the personnel. This time of year, we always talk about the superintendent evaluation tool that we use, which we all groan and moan about because it's fairly onerous, but Vicky's been using this for years, and we've used it the last couple of years, and so this again is our opportunity to decide whether we want to continue to use it, whether we want to make up something new, whether we, so I don't want to particularly discuss it here. We can come back at a subsequent meeting and discuss it, or you guys can email me or whatever.
We do that around Christmas time.
Right, well I usually talk about it now and then,
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
yeah, and then because we decide what we're going to do at the next meeting, and then we, but we did talk in Mr. McGee's evaluation last year about having a mid-year chance to have a review with him, and we haven't done that yet. And I would like for us to put that on the calendar. If people are prepared to make a commitment to that tonight. If not, again, you'll have to email me and we'll make a meeting for that, because I think that would be a special meeting at this point.
Do you have a date in mind?
I don't.
Well, just in review of that, as you can see in the notes, you might want to take a look at the instrument and say, okay, let's split it into 2 parts. Half of the instrument one part of the year, the other half the the second part of the year. Also, the School Boards Association has a plethora of instruments that they use. You're more than free to contact them to say, okay, what other types of tools might be available, and they would send them to you. You could pluck from
I
that.
have written
And
handouts that they've given us.
yeah, and you can pick from that and say, let's add that to one of the media reviews, and then we can go down that road. So,
You could want to send us half a dozen.
I have, they're probably in my car. If they're not in my car, they're on the back counter
well,
at my
what I'll
house.
do is I'll contact them and get them
Yeah.
for us, so.
Get them
the next
digitally,
time-
then we can send them out maybe.
Oh, sure. Gee, I keep forgetting that we're in this part of age.
Mhm.
Is there anything in your contract that says it's, it has to be just once a year? Do we have any
I would have
problem
to
if
go
we
back
change
and
it?
review my contract to make sure.
I don't think
there is an
it does.
annual, I think there's an
It
annual.
says a minimum of an annual review,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, okay.
Mhm. I think, isn't that what we did?
Correct.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
So, I know we talked about this in January last year, and, we've gotten busy and we haven't gotten to it, so, with us not having the February 1st deadline per se, since we renewed Mr. McGee's contract, that gives us a little bit more flexibility, but I would like for us to get this on the calendar, because we keep saying we're gonna do it, and we don't do
I
it.
think a lot of the A, B's, and C's and all are about this long, and they could be, they're just pretty wordy. I'd like to see them right to the point.
Mhm.
So that might be something we can keep in mind.
So I guess we'll follow up and send that information out and get it out to everybody, and then we can, and then everybody, I guess, Mr. McGee, we've come up with a date, and then let's see if we can get everybody on board. How's that? Okay, is that the best thing to do? Because I don't want to put it on a regular meeting night agenda.
No.
Yeah,
Is
because
it-
there's enough others.
Yeah, it needs to be a special meeting, so,
And then we're probably gonna need to do a special meeting for policy review too. So, I mean,
Yes.
there's a few meetings here in the next month we're probably gonna have to attend
because we're gonna have to meet in a week to finish this budget proclamation thing.
to, possibly.
Possibly, so, but anyway, so we're gonna have to have a bunch of meetings, unfortunately, or fortunately, as the case may be. Maybe we'll potluck there.
There you go.
There's
Yeah.
a good idea.
Mr. O'Brien?
Are we still on the superintendent evaluation tool?
Yes, we are.
Can I speak on that, or
Sure, I'll let you.
do I need to stand and address?
Well,
It's up to you, you're the
just
chair.
talk. We'll be casual tonight.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. The last time I saw the superintendent evaluation tool on an agenda was January 23rd of last year. And I'm gonna ask the board, is the superintendent evaluation tool gonna also be used for disciplinary procedures during that evaluation? Again?
Well, let me back up. I'm pretty sure it was on the November agenda last year that I handed out a copy to everybody and said, let me know if you want to make any changes. And then at the December meeting, I said, okay, now everybody said we were good. And then I said, I want these back by the end of the year. And so,
But what I'm asking though
so
is,
get to, I guess I'm
the
missing
last
something.
time this was on an agenda at a public meeting, reading the minutes that came out of that meeting, reading the paper, the story that came out of that meeting, you used the evaluation tool in a private disciplinary procedure. Is that something that you're going to allow yourselves to do this year and in the future with the superintendent evaluation tool?
Is that an executive session deal anyway?
May I speak? to that
Yes,
a little
would
bit?
you please?
Stating that it is a disciplinary issue, I think is an interpretation. That is one person's interpretation of what they've seen in the minutes of the meeting and stuff. And I don't believe it correctly reflects what the minutes of those meetings are. So I would caution the board in endorsing that it was a disciplinary issue at all at that point. It was an evaluation, and as an evaluation, the board does have the right to go into an executive session to discuss the performance of the superintendent.
Mr. McGee, I don't want to misinterpret anything, and I'm going to give you that. I don't want to. However, in the news article that came out of that, you were quoted yourself, as was Mrs. Cornish, about some things that took place in that meeting, which was executive session. And it kind of surprised me that it came out in the paper that some things in executive session got spoke about publicly in the paper. In the paper, it looked like it was also a disciplinary procedure. It looked like it in the paper, based on your own quotes. And that's why I'm asking this question, just on that.
Well, let me say about the paper. I've given 2 or 3 interviews to the newspaper, and it never comes out exactly how I said it. So I guess I'm just going to throw that out there, and then we're going to handle the superintendent evaluation like we usually handle it. So,
Which is usually,
It-
as you know, is an
executive session. So, there we go.
Okay, well, about
One last.
Sure.
Last.
Listening to the MTSBA on executive session, I kind of, my interpretation of that is to protect someone's privacy to go into an executive session with the board. And I believe privacy was specific about something that goes on outside the scope of the public position that is private to the individual.
Well, personnel matters in general are private. And so, again, if the interpretation that people took away from what was said in the article, the whole thing's up to interpretation, based on how the reporter heard what was said and how the reporter.
Okay, but I was talking about what the MTSBA went over here about
Could I,
executive
Yeah, go
session the other night.
I appreciate that position that you bring forward.
Yeah,
And I'd be more than happy to look into that
sure.
by asking MTSBA directly that question for you and get back to you on that if you would like.
Thanks.
Because it is a good question, but I think it's a question that is something that we should try to clarify so we're on the same page and we're not trying to hash back and forth on,
All
what
right.
is right and what isn't.
Thanks, John. I'll get a hold of you if you.
Yeah,
If
give
you'd like.
me some time.
Sure.
Maybe the Monday after Thanksgiving holiday.
Sure.
I'll get back to you by then. It gives them a chance to respond to my email and
Thanks.
stuff.
So let's move on, because everybody's going to get back to me if they have something they want to do, and we're going to send out more information. Let's go to this new business. Mr. McGee.
Okay, under new business, we have the budget amendment resolution. On November 14th, we received a letter from the Office of Public Instruction Financial Division that they were taking the steps to nullify the budget amendment resolution that was passed on October 8th. The Office of Public Instruction stated that the reason they had to nullify it was because within the proclamation, as we had set it up, we were going to take monies out of our building fund and out of our general fund reserve. And they stated on the Trustees Financial Summary Statement from August that was submitted to OPI, they noticed that we had moved debt service monies into the building fund, and they said that that transaction could not occur. We had a nice, interesting discussion on, when a bond issue is passed by a school district for the payment on a building, how those monies come in and how they get paid out to contractors as they work on the building. And, point being, when a building is finalized and paid for, the money's going to debt service, and from that debt service, the only avenues that those monies can be moved out of debt service is into a building reserve fund, technology fund, or general reserve fund. And so, because it went into the building fund, it nullified what we did. So, what we're doing tonight is we're taking the official steps to correct those things. As you will recall, in the June regular board meeting, this board took action to have the monies moved from debt service into the building reserve fund. It didn't happen that way. Instead, it went into the building fund, and we did the proclamation and so forth based off of that. So what we're doing tonight is the board is asked to nullify its actions with regard to the building amendment, the budget amendment, that was done on October 8th, and then we will move forward from there. Ms. Morgan has been working with OPI on this issue. Please be aware, we have emails and stuff from OPI where we've been in contact with them all the way through this, where we had presented the language to them and said, how does this look? And they said, it looks good. You know, they then approved it. They then assigned us project recorder codes that we would use in our budget to track the monies. And then all of a sudden, you know, it was like the carpet was yanked out from under us when we ended up getting the November 14th letter. So we have decided to pull this thing back, take the steps necessary to correct this so that it is easier for the public to see and understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. So before you tonight is an action item to nullify the October 8th resolution on the budget amendment that was passed at that time.
Also moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Mr.
So,
Martin? Oh, Mr. Buchanan.
oh, no, Kevin first.
Hey, John and Jeannie, is what they're asking you guys to do, or what they're telling you have to do, is this something that would slow the progress of this project down, or is it just clerical, get it done, go?
So we're doing, yes, we're going forward with.
We're moving forward.
Yeah, got the paperwork in process, and yes,
So the construction's
right,
not,
Yeah.
we're not gonna blink an eye on this?
We
Right.
shouldn't.
Okay,
that's what we're pushing for, yes.
okay, thanks.
Mr. Finley?
Now, ideally, this is just excess funds, will go back into the reserve fund then?
Actually, because the monies came from the debt service fund, they only specifically allow you to go to certain funds with that, which it gets a little sticky in terminology-wise, but because we went to the building fund instead of the building reserve fund, we're redirecting that monies back to the building fund, where the building reserve fund where it's supposed to be.
So,
Because of stipulations, so it's just directing the fund.
but your question is it's not a real easy answer.
Yes, it's.
Here's what will happen. Okay, so we put it into the building reserve fund. Once it goes in there, we have to track this money now, because these were tax dollars that the taxpayers appropriated for a facility, that building over there they built. Now, the septic system, you can't have that facility without a septic system. With this septic system going bad, it fits under the rules of a reason why you can use it. So you don't want to have to go back to your taxpayers and impose a tax on them when they've already approved a measure and you have money sitting in a reserve or in a debt service that you transfer over to a reserve. As we spend this down, yeah, we have $607,000 that we're setting aside because we want to have contingency for the what if. I am not approving any change orders or anything else. What they initially bid, what they gave us in this document here, we're sticking to this.
Sure.
We're not going to change costs at all. There has been a serious problem that does have a huge cost to it. And it's not our fault. I don't know whose fault it is. Either the engineer or the contractor is going to have to eat that. When that big 10,000-gallon septic tank blew out when they did the test on it, it happens. Either the supplier, the contractor, or the engineer has a responsibility to fix that. Now, it did throw them behind about a week on schedule, but I was talking to them today. They're going to start working weekends if they have to get that up. They want to be out of here before Christmas, which they're supposed to be out of here by. Back to the building reserve monies. Once it goes in building reserve, we have a fiduciary responsibility to see those monies are spent correctly under the intent of what taxpayers had appropriated them for. So in the future, if you have an issue inside the building that is infrastructure related to that facility, you're going to be allowed to use those monies on construction. If you have to do some kind of construction, let's say the pad under the boiler is bad and you have to construct a new concrete pad under that boiler, you could use the monies for that. But it has to be construction related. You cannot go by curriculum with it. You cannot do a whole host of other things with it. It has to be something attached directly to that building in some shape, some facet. Technically, I'd say you couldn't go build a crow's nest with it. There might be some leeway here or there with it, but I don't believe that the crow's nest or the bleachers in the football stadium or the softball field ever were a part of that original building bond issue. So technically, in the future, we're going to want to make sure that we keep a close eye on those dollars to make sure that they meet the intent of what taxpayers appropriated them for. And as long as we do that under construction, they will be fine.
So
Does that
OPI just
answer?
didn't catch it.
Yeah, they didn't catch it when we asked
So
that
they said it
question.
was fine, and then they caught it, and they said, oops, it's not fine.
Does that answer your question a little bit, Mel, or did I get too technical?
No, so it'll, now, hopefully we'll never spend $1 of this.
Well, actually, we are
Over-
gonna spend this, because we
Huh?
plan
Already?
on, we plan
Well-
on this as part of our money.
Well, we're only gonna spend, you know, the
485.
483 that's under the construction contract, and then the 60 some odd that's in the engineering.
Yeah,
But we have appropriated 607, but
Mhm.
we don't plan to go up in that realm.
So if we don't spend it, it'll sit there. If we do have it there, it's there. If we do, something else comes up, it's there, right?
Yeah, it'll sit
Okay.
in the reserve fund.
All right, so Mr. O'Brien,
Can I ask about the 10,000 gallon tank thing?
can we talk about that? Mr. Finley needs to go and judge the Mr. Falcon pageant. Can we get through the business and then you guys talk?
I could tell you
Would that
after
be
the
okay?
meeting if you want to
Do
hear
you
it.
mind? Because we're trying to get him going over there because he's a vital part of the pageant.
I'm fine, I
Is that
just,
okay?
I've
I'd
never
be
heard
happy
of
to
that one.
talk to you after the meeting if you'd like.
Yeah. Okay, so
I
any
had-
other
I
discussion?
think-
I did bring it up at a previous meeting though.
I had I hope, I'll try and make it quick. You know, most of you guys know me, and I'm really concerned about the future of the school. My kids are here, and I've been part of the school as an employee, and somebody who's been in this town for a long time. And I've lived basically at poverty level, unbeknownst to most of my family members that make a lot of money and enjoy living in Florence. But hearing what you said, it makes me feel a little bit better. Understanding the process that we went through in this, the one thing that really upsets me, that I don't understand, when you were told by somebody very reputable in this field that there were mistakes in the engineering, and if you were gonna look into it, you didn't even have to get it re-engineered, you could have at least showed it to another engineer to see if it was, to save money. I don't understand, as a board and a superintendent, why that process was not followed through with back when this took place. That's a simple process to see if you could save money, and I don't understand why that process wasn't followed through with.
Well, I know that a lot of engineers, you know, if you go to them and you ask them to look at another engineer's work, that they're not going to get themselves caught in the crosshair of they're evaluating somebody else's work and says that it's not up to par, and then the next thing they know, they're into
Understandable.
a legal battle.
And they want
The
money for
person
that.
that
But
was
I do
Yeah.
know that a person in the meeting had stated very simply that there were some things that could have been done differently. One of them was that you didn't need to have the stainless steel lids on these dosing chambers and whatnot. I went and I talked with Western Excavation about it. I said, you've done a number of these. Does it to you, as you bid this project for the school, does it look like our engineer messed up by sticking stainless steel lids on this?
Yeah.
And he said to me, quote unquote, who's ever telling you that doesn't really know what they're talking about, because the acidity of that water really requires stainless steel lids.
Well,
So
understandable
it
on
was
that
kind
point.
of like, it's not that.
But Mr. Patterson is super well respected, as is Western, so I don't,
Okay,
Even
okay.
though
Yeah,
this-
I'm not
Okay,
arguing.
hold on,
I'm
hold
not
on.
arguing.
I'm not trying to
their
get it,
reputability.
Hold on.
I'm
We're
just
off-
really
getting off topic.
politely.
I'm gonna call for the question because, I'm sorry, I'm gonna call for the question. You guys need to talk separately.
Okay, well, I mean,
Again, 'cause
I
we're
wish I
trying to
could
get
address
going
the
here.
board more than
Okay,
the.
we agreed at the
Can I
time
make
not to
one final
value
30
engineer.
seconds, one final statement,
Mhm.
because I liked listening to what you said, that you don't want to have any more change orders. I really am concerned about the fiscal health and the overall health of this school. So, all I want to know, make sure, and I'm sure you're aware of this, if there are mistakes, like you said, that come up, and they're going to pay for them, and obviously, I'm hoping you know, and I'm sure you know, Mr. McGee, that all of the engineers have errors and omissions liability in their insurance. So, I mean, if something comes down the line that is a mistake in that, I'm just hoping that it doesn't have to come out of the school's money, because it is covered by an insurance from the engineer. It's just as simple as.
Well, and we would know that if we came to that bridge to cross it.
That's
so-
really the
Yeah.
only reason I came here, is
Yeah.
I'm trying to protect
Yeah.
my
So-
school and your school. That's
I'm
it.
gonna call for the question. All those in favor of nullifying the October 8th budget amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, You're gonna get up and leave, and we're gonna finish the meeting.
May I be excused?
You absolutely may,
Thank
okay? I'll be over in a minute.
Sorry to go, but.
Can I buy a vote, Mel?
Huh?
Can I buy a vote over there? I'll give you $1 for,
Who do you want?
I don't even know who's on it.
Yeah.
I don't even know who's playing,
I
okay?
wanna go see.
Hey, good luck.
May the best man win.
Yeah.
Okay, budget amendment proclamation. You're gonna see that the budget amendment proclamation is identical to the last one, except for we have removed the building fund and replaced it with building reserve. And so we've taken the steps to begin the process of transferring debt service dollars into building reserve.
Also move.
Second.
Okay, so discussion, call for the question, all those in favor? Aye. All right, so last but not least, we need to pay a couple of warrants here so that we are in a timely manner and don't get any extra interest charges or anything.
Yeah, what we intend to do is, if we can pay these warrants out of general fund, once the monies are appropriated for the building reserve, we can go back and recode the process in order to move the monies around. This is something that I spoke with the School Boards Association about, and so at this point, I'd ask that we use monies in our general fund at this point to pay these bills, and then we will recode the numbers to make sure they're in the right spot after the monies come in for the budget amendment.
Also move.
Second.
All right, so discussion. So let me just say that if we don't do this, then the project comes to a halt.
Well, it's,
While we wait for
what
OPI.
ends up happening is they'll probably move forward with their interest charges added to the payments on these bills.
Discussion.
Can I ask you what the warrants are? I didn't see warrants on the table, but what are we paying? Is this just the project?
Somebody
It's
read
just-
these.
We have,
Somebody read these, I'll read it. Move to pay $6,285 to DJ&A, who's the engineer, and $228,560 to Western Excavation for supplies and service completed on the septic drain field construction project.
and per their
That's
contracts,
it?
there's retainage.
That's just the two things.
And those are general fund for, until the,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
thanks.
All right, so call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. All right, so we are adjourned. Okay? Thank you. Off we go to Mr.